This conference will now be recorded.
So we are discussing column transformations. Yesterday till merge columns we discussed. Till merge columns we discussed in the last class. Today's class we'll start discussing what is this pivot, unpivot, all this. Let me open Power Query, open Power BI desktop. Just close this. Go to Power Query, Home tab, Transform Data. I'll bring some tables, new source. I'll bring some more tables. We'll bring some more tables from another Excel file, new source, Excel. There is one Excel file called column transformations. In the column transformations, we have some tables, column transformations, transpose, unpivot, and pivot. We'll bring it. Fine. In the column transformation table, I have proper data. In the transpose table also I have proper data. In the unpivot and pivot table, the first row is not data, it is header. I want to move the first row to header. Go to the home tab, click on use first row as header. Right. Now, first I'll explain what is pivot and what is unpivot, and then we'll discuss more about this. Now, first we'll discuss about what is pivot format and what is unpivot format. Let me click on close and apply. I'm loading this data into Power Pivot. Once after loading the data, first I'll explain what is pivot and what is unpivot. What is pivot format or unpivot format we'll discuss first. So let's take an example. I'll just create some visuals using the orders table, guys. Look at this here. I have a orders table. Using the orders table, I'll create some visuals. What visual I'll create is I want to show category wise, year wise sales. I'll take one table visual here. In the table visual, what I need to show is I want to show category wise, year wise sales. To show category wise, year wise sales, go to the orders table, drag the category column, and I want to show year wise sales. There is order date column. So in the order date column, when you go to the order date column, you'll get the year from the order date column. Under order date column, you'll have a date hierarchy. Under the date hierarchy, you'll have the year. We have data starting from 2014 year to 2017 year. 4 years data is there. 4 years data is there. So I'll just go to order date. When I go to order date, you'll have year, drag the year. Now I have three categories, 4 years. How many rows you will have is 3 into 4. 3 into 4, how many rows you have currently here? 12 rows. So three categories and 4 years. Each category furniture in 2014, what is the sales? Category furniture in 2015, what is the sales? I need to show it. I want to show category wise, year wise sales value. Just I'll drag the sales. When I have the data like this, we call this kind of data as unpivot format data or table format data. All the years I have in one column, all the sales values I have in one column. If you have all the sales values in one column, all the years in one column, so this kind of data we call it as unpivot format, unpivot, unpivot format. We also call it as table format, unpivot format or table format. So the same data we can show it in the pivot format. How to show it in the pivot format is, let's take the matrix visual. I'm taking another visual with the name matrix visual here. In this matrix visual, I want to show same category wise, year wise sales. I can just drag the category to the rows and I'll just drag years to the columns and sales to the values. Sales to the values. Here also you are showing category wise, year wise sales only, but only the difference is here also you are showing category wise, year wise sales. Previously you are showing all the years in one column, all the sales in one column. Now you are showing each year sales in a separate column. 2014 year sales in one column, 15 sales in one column, 16 sales in one column, 17 sales in one column. So when you show the data in multiple columns like this, the same sales value when you show in multiple columns like this, we call it as pivot format, guys. So whenever you find something like this, the same values, sales values under multiple columns, we call that kind of format as pivot format. When you find all the sales values under one column, we call this as unpivot format. We call that as what? Unpivot format. We call it as what? Table format also. All right. So both the places data you are showing is same. Technology 2016, their sales value is 226k. So in the same way, technology 2016, the sales value is same number. So here you will be showing in data in the less number of rows. In the unpivot format, data will be in the more number of rows. In the pivot format, data will be in the less number of rows. Here you have what? Less rows. Here you have what? Here data is in 12 rows. Here data is just in how many rows? 3 rows. Right? Unpivot format will have more rows. Pivot format will have less rows. Now, just tell me, I have a table here, unpivot and pivot table. So it has some data like product wise, salesperson wise, dealer wise, region wise, year wise, sales values. So in this table, tell me data is in which format? There is data in this table. In which format you have the data? It is in the pivot format or unpivot format? Pivot format. So the sales values are there in multiple columns here. 2009 sales is one column, 10, 11. This kind of data we call it as pivot formatted data. Pivot formatted data. So sometimes what happens is when the client provided the Excel files, especially when the client provided the data and the business data in the Excel files, when clients provided the business data in the Excel files, in the Excel files you will have pivot tables, guys. Lot of times in the Excel files they will store the data in the which format? Pivot format. Why they will store the data in the pivot format means when the data is there in the pivot format, understanding the data is easy. Here if you want to check for any combination of data, you need to check in total number of rows. Here when you want to check for the any combination of data, you need to just check in how many rows? 3 rows. Where is easy to check? 3 rows. That is the reason generally in the Excel they will store the data in the pivot format, guys. They'll give that pivot data to you. They'll ask you to generate the report. Same thing happen here. They given one table called unpivot and pivot table, and they're asking to do some analysis using this table, guys. So now tell me in the orders table, you have the data in the pivot format or unpivot format? Orders table is there. In orders table also you have sales column and year column. Order date you have year column. It is in which format? Unpivot format. All the year sales I have in one column itself. So then this kind of format we call it as what? Unpivot format. When the data is there in the unpivot format, for any BI tool, performing the analysis is easy, right? Look at this using orders table. If I want to show complete sales, all the 4 years, how much sales, I can just take one card visual here. Into that card visual, I'll drag the sales column. All the 4 years, how much sales we have? 2.3 million. We are able to show it up. In the same way, I want to show year-wise sales. To show year-wise sales also, you can show it up. You just can go to order date column, you can drag the year and you can drag the sales. We're able to show each year how much sales you're getting and the total sales is how much. When the data is there in the unpivot format, create performing analysis on top of it is simple, guys. Now, just same thing I want from this table, guys. There is another table. In the another table, data is there in the pivot format. Data is there in which format here? Pivot format. From this table, I want to show complete sum of sales, guys. So how to show sum of sales from this table? Is it possible? So you have 2009 sales in one column, 10 sales in another column, 11 sales in another column. I don't have all the sales values in one column. When I go and take one visual here, when I go and drag 2009 column, it will show which sales? Only 2009 sales. But I want all the 8 year sales. There is 8 years starting from 2009 till 2016. How many years you have? 8 years. I want all the 8 year sales. I want all the 8 years sales. How can you show all the 8 year sales is? So it is not possible, guys. Here, when the data is in the pivot format, analyzing the data is not easy. So you need to convert first. So client, by providing this table, client is asking to show complete sales, year-wise sales, year-wise sales. In the orders table, we did it easily. Why? Because all the years I have in one column, all the sales I have in one column, I shown the complete sales as well as year-wise sales comfortably. But here, using this table to show complete sales, I'm not able to do it. Why? Because I don't have all the sales values, and I'm not able to do year-wise sales also. I don't have all the years in one column. Then what you need to do is you need to convert this pivot formatted data to unpivot format, guys. You need to convert this pivot formatted data to what? Unpivot. To create the visuals, you need to convert this pivot formatted data to unpivot. So you can convert it easily in the Power Query with one click, guys. How to convert it? How to go to Power Query again? Home tab, click on transform data. In which table I need to convert pivot formatted data to unpivot is this table. I'm going to the table. Now the requirement is there is a option called unpivot columns. We need to use an option called unpivot columns, guys. So unpivot columns, what it will do is, let me explain. You need to use the unpivot columns. Now year columns are in the pivot format. Year columns in the pivot format, select with control shift. You can select all the years. Control shift, select all the years. Once after selecting all the years, go to the transform tab. There is an option called unpivot columns, guys. There is an option called what? Unpivot columns. Now I need to use an option in the transform tab. In the transform tab, there is an option called what? Unpivot columns. I need to use this option. So I need to select all the years which are in the pivot format. And then I need to go to this option, click on unpivot columns, guys. Now tell me how many rows you have in the table is 30 rows. How many rows you have? 30 rows. So that means each year, how many sales values you have? 30 sales values. 2009, I have 30 sales values. 2010, 30 sales values. And totally, how many years I have? 8 years. 8 years, how many sales values I have? 30 sales values. My requirement is now each year sales values are there in different column. Instead of that, I need to bring all the sales into one column, all the years under one column, all the years under one column, all the sales under one column. How can you bring it is? Whatever the years you have here in the columns, I have years currently in the columns. That years I need to bring it to the rows. I need to create one year column. Under year column, I need to show all these values. Under year column, I need to show all these values. And beside that, I need to get a sales column. Under the sales column, how many sales values I need to see? 240 sales values. For that, what you need to do is select the columns which are repeating here and go and click on unpivot columns, guys. Now, when I click on unpivot columns, it got converted to how many rows? 240 rows. Previously, 30 rows. Now, if you go and check it, you got two columns in the output. One is attribute, second one is value. So when you unpivot the columns, you got two columns in the output. One is attribute. In the attribute, you will have all the 8 years. In the attribute column, all the 8 years you have. In the values column, you have 240 sales values. You have all of them under one column. You can rename these columns now. Double click on it. Give the column name as what? Year and sales. Now, is it possible to show complete sales now? Yes. Is it possible to show year-wise sales? Yes, we can comfortably show that now. Just let me show you. I'll load this data into PowerPoint. Click on close and apply. And I click on close and apply. The transformed data will be loaded into PowerPoint. Now when I go to the table unpivot and pivot, now you have all the years in one column, all the sales in one column. Now I can show complete sales comfortably. I can just take one visual. I'll just go to unpivot and pivot table and I'll just drag the sales column. Total sales is how much? 13 million. So can I show year-wise sales? Yes, I can take another visual. Into another visual, I can drag the year column and sales column. We are able to show each year how much sales we are getting. Right. Sometimes when clients provided the data in the pivot format, especially from Excel, you'll get what type of data? Pivot data. You need to bring that pivot data into Power Query and you need to unpivot the data and you need to load the unpivot table into PowerPoint. Any BA tools expect unpivot data so that we can create the reports and visuals easily. Right. So unpivot columns we discussed. In unpivot columns, what we are doing is we are bringing columns to rows. Previously, what we are doing in unpivot columns is, previously, if you go here, the years are there in the columns. Years are there in where? Columns. When you unpivot it, that years are getting into where? Rows. That years are getting into rows. So we are bringing the columns to what? Rows. In unpivot columns, we are bringing the columns to rows. If you want to convert pivot formatted data to the table format data, table format or unpivot, you need to use which option? Unpivot columns. When you do unpivot columns, the number of rows will increase or decrease? Number of rows will increase. Right? That is unpivot columns, guys. Now, there are other options also there. So one important question they will ask you in the certifications or interviews is, which Power Query option will give two columns in the output? Which Power Query transformation? Which Power Query transformation will give two columns in the output? One is attribute. Second one is value. Which Power Query transformation? Unpivot columns. Your answer is what? Unpivot columns. Unpivot columns is the Power Query transformation which will give two columns in the output. Right. So there are other options. So unpivoting the columns, one way you can go to the ribbon and you can do that. Second way is select the columns with Control Shift and right click on it. You will even find what here? Unpivot columns. Both are same. Both are same. Now when you are doing unpivot columns, there are other options also. Look at this here. When I go to unpivot columns there, when you go to transform, when I go to unpivot columns, there are options like what? Unpivot columns, unpivot other columns, unpivot only selected columns. So what is the difference is, so let's say instead of going and selecting 8 years, instead of going and selecting 8 years, instead of selecting unpivot columns, so what I'll do this time is I'll do in a reverse way. What is the reverse way I'll do is I'll just select these four columns. I'm not selecting the years. I just selected these four columns. And this time you need to click on what? Unpivot other columns. You need to click on unpivot other columns. When I click on unpivot other columns, except these four columns, all other columns will unpivot. The same result you will get. When I click on unpivot other columns, how many rows again you are getting? Attribute and value. This unpivot column, unpivot other column, what they will do is, and there is one more option called what? Unpivot only selected columns. So this unpivot column or unpivot other column, tomorrow when a new year is getting, currently in this table, how many years data you have? 8 years. There is a chance that in the future, in the same source table, they will add another year also. There is a chance that in the same source table, column transformations, unpivot and pivot, there is a chance they will add which year data here? 2017 data also. Let's take an example. They added 2017 data also. 2017 data also they added. Let's take an example. They added 2017 and they added the same values in that column. So now what happens in your source? You got one more year. When you got one more year, will that one more year data will you see in the output? Currently you are seeing the data from where? 2019 to 2009 to 2016. So when you do unpivot column, unpivot other column, so even tomorrow when they added new year, that new year also will get it, guys. So how to get that new year is, there is an option called what? Refresh. When I click on refresh, go to this and check it here. Are you getting 2017? Yes, you'll get it up. So the requirement is, currently whatever the years I have, I need to unpivot. Even tomorrow when a new year is adding, you need to even unpivot that. So when tomorrow any new year is added to the source, if you want to unpivot, so these two options, unpivot columns or unpivot other columns, even they will add the new year also which you are getting in the future. But if you go with only unpivot selected columns, so any new year is coming, that new year will not unpivot, guys. That new year will not unpivot. Only selected columns at the initial time, what columns you selected, only that columns it will unpivot. Understand carefully here. So they are not complex options, simple options. So initially when they give, so might be you'll have only 8 years data. So when you go and select whatever the years initially you have, when you click on unpivot columns, it will unpivot whatever years currently you have. Even in the source, if they add any new year, when you go with this option, will it unpivot that year also? Yes. Unpivot other columns also will do the unpivot. But if you go with unpivot only selected columns, in the future when 2018 is added, will it unpivot? No. When you go with unpivot only selected columns, any year which is going to add in the future, it will not unpivot, guys. More, mostly we will go with unpivot columns or unpivot other columns. We don't go with what? Unpivot only selected columns. One unpivot only selected columns, what it will do is currently what years you have, only that years it will unpivot. Tomorrow when any new year is added in the source, when you click on refresh, it will not unpivot. It will not unpivot. Right, we understand the three options, guys, here. So here either we can now currently we can go with which option here? Unpivot columns, unpivot columns. Or second way is what? We can select this columns, 4 columns, and then we can click on what now? Unpivot other columns. The requirement is I have currently 7 years. Tomorrow, currently some 9 years are there. Tomorrow, when any new year is added, I don't want to unpivot. I want to unpivot only the current what years I have. So tomorrow, any new year is added. If you don't want to unpivot, what you need to do? You need to select all these columns, and then you need to select what? Unpivot only selected columns. That means tomorrow, when any new year is added in the source, will it unpivot? No. Right. Let me delete this. Let me refresh it. Right, unpivot columns we see. Whenever you have the data in the pivot format, just first thing you need to do is you need to unpivot the data. Just select the columns, right click on it, unpivot the columns. It will give 2 columns in the output, attribute and value. So you can give the names as per the data you have. Under this column I have years, under this column I have sales. Right. So there is a reverse operation. We understand unpivot columns. There is an option called pivot column. Another option is there where? Pivot column. Pivot column very rarely we will use, guys. Pivot column very rarely we will use. What pivot column will do is reverse. It will convert rows to columns. Now in the each row I have year, guys. Each year I need to take it to one column. Each year I need to take it to one column. Whenever you need to take rows to columns, you need to use which option? Pivot column. Pivot column will do what? It will convert table formatted data to which format? Pivot format, reverse operation. So when you convert into pivot format, number of rows will reduce or increase? Number of rows reduce. Currently, you have how many rows here? 240 rows. I want to convert them back to 30 rows. How to convert them is select the year column, go to transform tab. There is an option called what? Pivot column. Pivot column. Or else right click. Do you have any option here? You don't have. So this time you need to go with what? Pivot column. Okay. I'll take each year to column. Below that year, what values you need to show? Sales values. Below that year, what values you need to show? Sales value. Value column. Below that year, what values you need to show? Sales. When I press OK, it is bringing back to how many rows? 30 rows. Each year data you are getting in one column. Data will not change, right? So mostly we'll use which option? Unpivot columns. Right, guys. We understand pivot column and we understand unpivot columns. Next one is what? Transpose. So transpose will do both the things at a time. It will move rows to columns and columns to rows. Here in the pivot column, either one option. Unpivot column, any one option. But in the transpose, it will take rows to columns and columns to rows. Even transpose we use rarely, but for some reasons, let's take an example. I have this table. In this table, currently in the columns, I have years. Currently in the columns, what we have? Years. In the rows, what we have? Regions. Regions. I have 4 regions and 8 years. How many years? I want to interchange it, guys. This data, I want to make it 8 rows and 4 columns. 8 rows and 4 columns. That regions what we have, I need to take to the columns. the years what we have, we need to take to the rows. How can we do that is transpose, guys. Go to the transform tab. There is an option called what? Transpose. But there is a small gap in the transpose option. When I click on transpose, yes, it is comfortably taking the regions to the columns. But where is the years here? Are we seeing year numbers here? No, years are missing. There is a small gap in this option. It is not working as expected. So what you need to do is you need to transpose the table in 3 steps. So I want to bring years to rows, regions to columns. To do that, we need to do it in 3 steps. What are the 3 steps you need to do is, first you need to bring the header to the first row. First we need to bring what? Header to first row. How to bring the header to the first row is, go to the home tab. There is an option called use first row as header. Below that you have an option called what? Use header as first row. That means header will come to which row? First row. Then go to the transform tab, click on transpose. Now you got regions into the columns, you got years into the rows. Now one more step you need to do is you need to promote it to the header. Go to the home tab, click on use first rows. So look at this. When you look at here, you have years in the columns here, regions in the rows. We transposed it. We take regions to the columns, years to the rows. For some reasons, if you want to interchange both rows and columns, we need to use an option called what? Transpose. In one step, you cannot do it. You need to do it in 3 steps, right? We understand how we need to do it, right, guys? The next one is replace values. Let's take an example. I have a employee table. In the employee table, I have salary column and commission column. Using salary column and commission column, I need to derive total salary column. What we need to derive in the output? Total salary. I need the output in the new column. 2450 plus no commission. I need to show as what? 2450. 1600 plus 300. I need to show 1900. I want to show the result in the new column. Tell me the process. When you want the result in the new column, select the 2 columns, add columns. We need to go to from number column, standard, click on add. When I click on add, you are doing salary plus commission here. Salary is 2450, commission is null, output is what? So any arithmetic operation with null in most of the softwares, when you perform arithmetic operation with null, output you will get as what? Null. Here we need to, as a developer, we need to change before we add them. Wherever null values are there, we need to replace with zeros. We need to replace with zeros. How to replace null values with zero is select the commission column, go to home tab. There is an option called what? Replace values. When I click on replace values, in commission column, what value you need to find? Null value. What we need to replace with? Zero. When I press OK, you got 24500, guys. Still addition column is showing what? Why? 2450 plus 0, it need to show 2450, right? Hmm? Why it is still showing null value here? Why not 2450? So in the addition, you are doing salary plus commission here. So why it is showing still null value even when you replace with 0? Why means all the ETL steps will be executed in the sequential order, guys. First you are doing what? Addition. Then next step you are doing what? Replace values. Now when you do addition, when I go and do addition now, you might get the expected results. Once after replacing, if you do addition, you'll get expected results. But addition, this addition you are doing where? Before you replace the values. When you are doing the addition here, that time what value you have in the commission? Null value. At the time of doing this addition step, I have null value. So you'll get what? So then you are replacing it. They no use. The step you need to perform before what? Addition. So then only you can see the expected results here. So you can even move the steps, order of the steps, guys. Select the step. There is an option called what? Move. Right click on this step. There is an option called what? Move before. Now you replace the values in the 5th step, and in the 6th step you are doing what? Addition. Will you see correct result? Yes. So keep in mind all the ETL steps will be executed in sequential order. Sequential order. Right, guys. Next one is what? Remove empty. Whenever we need to filter the data, let's take an example. I have an employee table. How many employees are there? 15 employees are there. I want to load only the employees who have manager number. Out of 15 employees, how many employees have manager numbers? 14 employees have manager numbers. One of the employee doesn't have what? Manager number. He have a manager number as null. I want to load only that 14 employees into Power Pivot. I don't want to load this employee, guys. How to stop loading this employee? So you need to apply the filter, right? You need to apply the filter. Go to the manager, number filters. You can just write does not equals to what? Null. This is one way. When I write does not equals to null, manager not equal to null, how many employees have managers? This is one way to show it. The second way to show it is go to the manager column. There is an option called what? Remove empty. Remove empty also will filter the null values, guys. Will filter the null values. These are the inbuilt column transformations you have, guys. We're done with inbuilt column transformations. So once after inbuilt column transformations, next topic we'll discuss is inbuilt row transformations. Next topic is what? So inbuilt row transformations. We'll discuss about inbuilt row transformations. These are the inbuilt row transformations we'll be discussing now. I'll just copy paste them and we'll start discussing about this inbuilt row transformation. So when inbuilt row transformations will help us is, so especially sometimes clients will provide the data in the Excel files and the data will not be in the proper format. So they will provide data in the Excel files or any file system. Generally in the databases, you will have a proper formatted data. A proper formatted data will be there in the databases. Especially we are getting the data when in the files, you'll not have the proper formatted data. You'll have unstructured data. Unstructured data in the file. Sometimes you'll have, look at this Excel. I'll open one Excel now. The row transformation Excel. In this row transformation Excel, in the EMP table, we have a proper formatted data. So this is a structured data. We have a proper header to the table. We have proper data under the headers. But when you go to the row transformation table, we call this kind of data as unstructured data. This is what data? Unstructured data. I don't have the proper headers and proper data. So I have some details of this file and there is totals generated. There is blank rows, duplicate rows, lot of junk data is there in this. So this kind of data we call it as unstructured format, guys. Unstructured format. So sometimes there is a chance that when you're getting the data in the file systems, especially you'll get unstructured data. When you try to bring that unstructured data, when you load the data as it is into Power Pivot, when you try to create the reports and visuals, it will not work out. First, what you need to do is you need to bring that unstructured data from the files to Power Query. In the Power Query, you need to make that unstructured data into a structured format and you need to load that. So how can you convert unstructured data to the structured format is with the help of what? Row transformations. Let me explain now. So I have one Excel table. I'll bring it. Click on New Source, Excel. This time, row transformation Excel. Click on Open. Just select row transformation. Press OK. So you got a table. When you look at this table, so it is taking the file description as header. Is this the header? No, it is not the header. It is some description to the file. So actually this is the header. In this you don't have the header properly and you are getting some extra dummy columns and in the bottom also you are getting some extra rows like total generated and here 20th row and 21st row are completely blank rows and here some of the rows have errors also. Some of the rows have what? Errors. So lot of junk data is there, guys. This table doesn't have the data in the proper format. So when I click on close and apply, can I create the reports on this table? Means no. No. You need to make this into a proper format. To make this table into a proper structured format, we'll utilize this row transformation, guys. Let's understand. I'll utilize one by one option. So here, first option I'll use is I want to remove this row, guys. First, I want to bring the header to the first row. Whatever is there in the header, I want to bring it to the first row. How can you bring the header to the first row is in the home tab, there is an option called what? Use header as first row. Now header, you got it to the first row. Now my requirement is I want to remove the first row here. How can you remove the first row is go to the home tab. There is an option called reduce rows. In the reduce rows, there is an option called remove rows. Under remove rows, you have an option called what? Remove top rows. When I click on remove top rows, how many rows I need to remove? One row. When I press OK, that row got removed. I don't want it. Now, next step is what? You need to move this row to the that row to the header. Go to the home tab. Click on use first row as header. Now, I want to remove this column 8 and column 9. They just have null values. Select the two columns. Right click on it. Remove columns. Now, in the bottom also I have two rows which I don't want it. Do you need these two rows to generate the reports? No need. You need to remove it. How to remove this bottom rows is home tab, reduce rows, remove bottom rows. How many rows? Two rows. Now we did some transformations, not all the transformations, but when compared to previous, now you have some proper formatted data. Still you have errors, still you have blank rows, but we have some proper formatted data now. We'll discuss all other things here one by one. Right. Next options we understand remove top rows, remove bottom rows. There is an option called what? Remove blank rows. So in this table, currently you have 34 rows. In the 34 rows, 19th row and 20th row are completely blank row. You don't have any data there. So do you need that column, that rows? No need. You want to remove them. How to remove them is remove blank rows. When I click on remove blank rows, so now how many rows you have? Two blank rows got removed. Right. Next one is you have errors. You have errors here. So when I click on close and apply, just observe totally I have 32 rows. In the 32 rows, 9th row is having error and 18th row is also having error, and even another row is also having error. Some 22nd row I have errors. So 9th, 18th, 22. Three rows have errors. Out of 32 rows, 29 rows have proper data. Three rows have errors. So when you load as it is, just observe what it will tell. I have the errors in the table, but I'm still loading them. What is it telling? One of the loaded queries contains errors. You loaded a table called row transformation table. You loaded 32 rows. Out of 32 rows, how many errors you have? Three errors. So you can just close it, guys. Or you can click on view errors. When you click on view errors, it will show you in the Power Query how many error rows you have. When I click on view errors, it will take to the Power Query. And in the Power Query, you can see the three error rows. Which rows? 19, 9, 18, 22nd row have errors. So when you load the data which is containing errors, what it will do is wherever you have error, it will load with what? Blank. So it is loading how many rows? Even though your rows have errors, it loaded. It loaded with what values? Blank values. If you are fine with blank values in the place of error, no worries, load it and create the visuals. But whenever you have errors, instead of having the blank value, I want to write it as no data or some text here. I want to write it as what? No data or some text here. In that case, what you can do is go to transform data. I can delete it. I understand which rows we have error. I understand it. Now I'll go to row transformation. I have some errors here. So you need to check with your client. Some of the rows I have errors. What I need to do with it. So when some of the rows have errors, clients will tell two things, guys. One thing they will tell you is just remove the error rows. One thing they will tell you is what in the row transformation table, wherever error rows are there, remove that error rows. Second thing they will tell you is wherever you have errors, in the place of errors, replace some values. In the place of errors, they will ask you to do replace what? Values. So in a table, how to identify the error rows is go to the home tab. There is an option called what? Keep. There is an option called what? Keep errors. When I click on keep errors, it can keep the errors in the table. Only error rows you can see. Let's say I have a table. I want to identify how many error rows we have in the table. How can you identify is select this. There is an option called keep errors, guys. When I click on keep errors, it is telling that there is no errors. Understand carefully here. I selected which column here? Invoice column. And I'm selecting what here? Keep errors. So in invoice column, do you have any errors? No. That is the reason it is not showing. When I select customer name column, when I go and click on keep errors, how many errors you have in the customer name? Only one. I don't want to show the errors in only one column. I need to see the errors in the complete table. When you want to see the errors in the complete table, first you need to select the table symbol, guys. If you select the column, when I go and click on keep errors, it will keep the errors in what? Only one column. I don't want errors in only one column, complete table. For that, what you need to do? First, you need to go and click on table. Once after selecting the table, then you need to go here and click on what? Keep errors. This time it will keep the errors on complete table level. In the complete table level, how many rows you have errors? 3 rows. So you just tell your client that we are getting 3 rows errors. What I need to do with that errors? What my client said is, my client said that go and remove the errors. Go and remove the error rows. How to remove the error rows is, just go here, remove rows. There is an option called what? Remove errors. Now tell me how many errors it will remove now. Just observe here carefully. When I select invoice, when I go and click on remove errors, how many errors it will remove? 0. Why? We don't have any errors in the invoice. I don't want to remove the errors only in the invoice column. I want to remove the errors in the complete table. For that, first you need to select what? Table. So then you need to go and click on remove errors. Remove errors. Remove rows and remove errors. How many rows it got removed now? 3 rows. You don't have error rows here. Right? So one way to remove the errors at the table level is select the table, go to the reduce rows, remove errors. Or else in the table itself, when you right click or when you click on the table, you will find the options, guys. Here also you are finding an option called what? Remove errors. When you right click on the table, when you click on remove errors, it will remove the errors at what level? Table level. It will remove the errors at table level. So you can even utilize this. Right click on it, click on remove errors. It is removing the errors at the table level. Right. Any option is fine. Right. Now the requirement is I don't want to remove the errors. So wherever you are getting error data, in the place of that error, show no value or something else. What you can do is you can just go to transform tab. In the transform tab, there is an option called replace values. Below the replace values, there is an option called what? Replace errors also. I want to replace the errors. Now I selected invoice column. When I click on replace error, it will replace errors in which column? Only invoice. I don't want to replace the errors in invoice. I want to replace in where? Customer name and product. So or else you select table. If you want to select all the columns, you can replace the values. Or else you can select only 2 columns. You can replace what? Errors. Wherever the errors are there, we need to replace as no value or no data. Write something here. No value or no data. Now go and check it here. You're getting what? No value. Wherever errors are there, you're getting no value. So for some reasons, if you want to replace the errors with some other thing, you can go with replace errors. Right. Now, so I don't even have errors also, but you have duplicate records in this table. What you have in this table is duplicate records. If you look at here, so a row is having completely same data. Here also, these 2 rows have completely same data. In this table, we have some duplicate data here, guys. I need to identify what is the duplicate records we have in the table. To identify the duplicate records, I need to identify the duplicate records at table level, guys. First, you need to select table, and then you need to go and click on what? Keep duplicates. So, must and should you need to select the table and then click on keep duplicates. These are the duplicate records you have. These records are repeating multiple times, 2 times, right? So we can do select the table and we can go here and we can click on keep duplicates, or else right click on it. You can even find what here? Keep duplicates. Both are same. So we understand that there is some duplicate records. Totally in my table I have 32 rows. Out of 32 rows, 3 rows are getting again. Unique rows is how many? 29 rows. 3 rows you are getting what? Again. So you need to delete them. How to delete the duplicates is, let's take an example. I'm selecting the product name column. I'm going to reduce rows. I'm just clicking on remove duplicates, guys. When I click on remove duplicates, will it remove 3 rows or will it remove more than 3 rows? More than 3 rows. What it is doing is it is removing the duplicates at what level? Column level. What it will do is for the first time when cycle is coming, you'll get it. From the next time when cycle is coming, it will delete it. It's a duplicate. For the first time auto is getting, you'll have it. Next time when auto is getting, it will remove it. So do you want to remove the duplicates at column level now? No, you need to remove the duplicates at what level? Table level. For that, you need to select the table symbol. Then go here, click on remove duplicates. How many rows it got removed now? 3 rows. One way to remove the duplicates is you need to click on this, you need to go here, or else right click on it. There is an option called remove duplicates. It will remove the duplicates at what level now? Table level. Table level it will remove. Right, guys. We understand how to remove the duplicates. There is no doubt now this table have well structured data. No duplicates, no blank rows, no errors, no blank columns. So this table is having a structured format data. When you look at this here, it have unstructured data. Now with few transformations, we make that unstructured data into what? Structured format. Right. So we understand the options what we have. We understand remove top rows, remove bottom rows. There is an option called what? Remove alternative rows. What is that remove alternative rows is? Very rarely we might use this. The requirement is something like this. I have a table. I want to keep the odd rows in the table. I want to keep odd rows 1, 3, 5, 7. I want to remove even rows. I want to remove even rows. So when you have this kind of requirement, you can go with what? Remove alternative rows. Click on remove alternative rows. So requirement is I need to keep the odd rows. I need to remove the even rows. Odd rows we need to keep it. Even rows we need to remove it. What is the numbers you need to give? First row to remove. Starting from which row you need to start removing? 2. You need to give 2. From the second row, how many rows you need to remove? Number of rows you need to remove? 1. 1. Once you remove one row from second row, how many rows then you need to keep? 1. So starting from second row, remove one row, keep one row. Remove one row, keep one row. So you'll get what? Odd rows. You'll get what? Odd rows. Just starting from the second row, remove one row and keep one row. So what it will do is, starting from second row, it will remove this, then it will keep this. Remove this, keep this. So what you will get? 104, 142, 186. When I just press OK, 104, 142, 186. It is removing alternative rows or not? Yes. So very rarely you might use it. For some reasons, if you want to remove alternative rows, you can go it. Remove duplicates. We discussed it, right? Next one is what? Remove blank rows. Remove errors. We discussed all these options. In the same way, keep top rows. Sometimes there is a requirement that in this table, I want only top 5 rows. In this table, when you want only top 5 rows, which option you need to go with? Keep rows, keep top 5 rows. When I press OK, it will keep only top 5 rows. Look at this. So currently you have 29 rows. From 29 rows, I need only top 5 rows, starting from 104 to 186. For that, I need to just go here, keep top rows, 5 rows. It is giving starting from 104 to 186. The next one is keep bottom rows. There are some times where we need only bottom 5 rows or 6 rows. So if you want to keep only bottom 5 rows, let's say I want to keep this 5 rows, guys, starting from 709 to 797. To keep only bottom 5 rows, you can use what? Keep bottom rows 5. It will give 709 to 787. So I want to keep middle rows. Let's take an example. I need to keep the row number starting from 6 to 10, guys. 5 rows I need to keep it. 188 to 330. If you want to keep the middle rows, you have what? Keep range of rows. What is the range of rows I need to keep is? First row I need to keep is starting from 6th row. From there, how many rows I want to keep? 5 rows. Number of rows I need to keep is 5 rows. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 5 rows I need to keep. So starting from 6th row, 5 rows means till 330. When I press OK, starting from 188 till 330 it is showing. Middle rows. The next one is what? Keep duplicates. We discussed it, right? Next one is what? Keep errors. So whatever the options you have here, so those options We call it as row transformations, guys. These options we call it as what? Row transformations. So here one important point we need to understand is few options will work on complete table. Whatever the row transformations you have, they will work always on complete table. See here, if you observe, when you select the column, when you remove the duplicates, it behave differently. When you select the table, when you click on remove duplicates, it behave differently. Is it correct or not? That means this operation will perform on the table level differently, on the column level differently. But there are some options. Remove top rows is there. When you select a column or when you select a table, it will perform same. This always perform what level? Table level. But this option is there. It can perform at what level? Table level as well as both. If you select the table, it will behave differently. When you select the column, it will behave differently. But this option will work same. Now we'll try to understand this option. So tell me, this remove top rows will work only table level or both table level and column level? Only table level. That means, see, it's a table level operation. Even when you select a column, it will give the same result. Even when you select a table, remove top rows will give the same result. So this always perform what level means table level operation. When you even select a column, it will remove the top rows from where? Complete table. Complete table. Remove bottom rows, complete table level operation. Remove alternative rows, table level operation. Remove duplicates, it will it will work both. Column level it will give different results. Table level it will give different results. Remove blank rows, table level. It's a table level. Complete table. Even when I select a column, if the complete row is blank, then only it will remove. It will work on complete table level, guys. Remove errors, both table level as well as column level. In the same way, here also keep top rows will work at what level? Table level. Bottom rows, complete table level. Range of rows, table level only. Keep duplicates, table level it will give different results. Column level it will give different results. Keep errors, both. Column level it will give different results. Table level it will give different results. So I clearly listed here, out of these options, few options will work at what level? Whole table level. But keep errors will work at what level? Whole table as well as selected column, guys. Let me understand all these options. The next one is what? Group rows are group by. Group rows are, I clearly mentioned, few of options will work on, few options which we have here will work on what? Complete table. Few options will work on complete table as well as specific column. We clearly listed it, how they will work. Now, so we'll discuss about group rows or group by. So what is that group rows or group by is? In the home tab, there is an option called what here? Group by. Let's understand what is the use of that option. Sometimes clients will provide a tables with millions of records of data. Let's say my client provided one SQL Server table called sales table, which contains 100 million records. From 100 million records, client is asking to show region-wise sales. Region-wise sales. One way what we can do is, we can bring that 100 million records to the Power Query. We will load that 100 million records into the Power Pivot. Using that 100 million records, you can create a visual to show region-wise sales. One way you can do that. And you can show that, you can share that visual with the client. When you share that visual with the client, every time when client open this visual, it will take 100 million records from Power Pivot. It will aggregate the data in the runtime. It will show the data in the visual. For showing the data, it is taking almost 30 to 40 seconds of time. How much time it is taking? So 40 seconds of time. Why? Because it need to aggregate the data, 100 million rows data. So it takes time. So client is telling that I want to see the data in this visual quickly. The second alternative way you have is, bring the 100 million rows to Power Query. In the Power Query, aggregate the data at region wise and load only region wise sales, 4 records, and show the 4 records in the visual. When you create a visual using 4 records, it will show the data within few seconds, guys. Right. So sometimes when client provided the data, they'll give the detailed information in the sources. But in the client reports, clients will ask us to show aggregated data. For one way to show that is, load the data as it is into PowerPoint, show the aggregated data. So aggregate the data in Power View level and show it. It takes time, guys. Second way is bring the table to Power Query. Aggregate the data in the Power Query itself using, to aggregate the data in the Power Query, you have an option called what? Group by. That aggregated data load into PowerPoint and show that data in the visual. You have two advantages when you group by the data in the Power Query. One advantage is what? Space. Instead of loading 100 million records, you load how many records? 4 records. And second advantage is performance. Both will increase. Now let me show you. I'll give the same example with orders table. Now orders table have detailed data. Client is asking to show region wise sales using orders table. One way to do that is load this order table as it is. Now all the rows I am loading as it is. In the orders table, we are loading all the rows. Using all the rows, I can show region wise sales. I can take one visual. I'll go to the orders table. I'll drag the region column and we'll drag the sales column. Yes, we are able to show it. So when you have huge volumes of the data in the table, to show this result, it will take time, guys. Now we have just how many rows? 994 rows. To aggregate it, it will show data quickly. But in the real time, you'll have millions of records of data. To aggregate it, it will take the data. It will take time. What is the second alternative way to show the same result? So now just copy this result somewhere. The same result, I can show it easily now. So what can you do is go to Power Query now. How to go to Power Query? Home tab, transform data. Go to the orders table. In the orders table, aggregate the data using an option called what? Group by. We need to aggregate the data based on which column is region column. Go to the region column and click on what? Group by. So we need to group by the data based on which column? Region column. Region wise, what we need? You can give any column name. This is just a column name. Sum of sales. What is the operation you need to do? Sum. Which column data you need to sum? Sales column data. We need to select which column? Sales column data. Just pass the sales column, press OK. Now this table got converted to how many rows? Just 4 rows. Region and sum of sales. When I click on close and apply, this time it will not load 994 rows data into PowerPoint. It is loading how many rows? Only 4 rows. And you can even create the visual using that 4 rows, guys. Just go to orders table, drag the region, drag the sum of sales. Go and compare to these two results. Are they showing same numbers? What happened? Just a second, guys. So here you are seeing the same result. Here also you are seeing the same result. So this visual you created using how many rows? 994. This visual you are creating using how many rows? Out of these two visuals, which will load the data quickly? This will load the data quickly. So when you load only 4 rows, it will save less space in the PowerPoint. So for some reasons, whenever client is providing a detailed information in the sources, and if client is asking to show only aggregated data in the visuals, what you can do is you can aggregate the data in the Power Query and you can load the data into PowerPoint so that you can save the space and performance will increase. To aggregate the data in the Power Query level, we can use an option called group by, guys. Let me explain some more example here. Previously, you group by the data only based on region column. This time I need to group by the data based on region as well as category column. To group by the data based on region as well as category column, select the orders table or else select, you can go and select it or just select the orders table, click on group by. I need to group by this time based on which columns means first column is region. I want to group by based on another column also. When you are in the basic, you can do only group by on one column. If you want to do group by on another columns, you need to go to where? Advanced, add, grouping. What is the second group by column? Category. Second group by column I need is what? Category. Select, go and select category. So we selected category and so I want to group by based on the two columns. What I need to derive is one column I need to derive is sum of sales. Select the sum column and pass the sales column. And second thing I need to do is add the aggregation. What is that? Sum of profits. Sum of profits, select sum. Which column now again? Profit column. So like this, we can even add lot of aggregations. We can do group by with lot of columns. We can add lot of aggregations also here. So I want to count of rows also. In this combination, I need count of rows, count of orders or count of rows. So what is the one you need to select is count rows. Here you need to select what? Count rows. Just press OK. You'll get region wise, category wise, sum of sales, sum of profits, and count of orders. So whenever you create the visuals on the aggregated table, so you will get some better performance, and it will even save some space in the Power Pivot case. For some reasons, when your client is providing the detailed data in the sources, when they're expecting only aggregated data in the visuals, recommended to aggregate the data in the Power Query and load the aggregated data, show that in the visuals. Right, guys. So we're done with row and column transformations. Tomorrow we'll start with the important topic. One of the important topic in the Power Query is, so let me open the course content. We started Power Query. First class we understand some introduction to Power Query, and the second class we understand about data processing, data types, filters in the Power Query, and then we discussed about what? Inbuilt column transformations, then inbuilt row transformations. The next topic we'll discuss about is what? Combined queries. So it is the important topic in the Power Query. You'll get the interview questions also from this topic. So we'll discuss this in tomorrow's class, guys. What is combined queries? What we will do there. Fine. Let's go with some questions.